Hey, writers and readers, welcome to Manuscript Massacre. I'm MC, your master of ceremonies. We're here to eviscerate a poorly assembled collection of random words that someone has generously called a story. As always, don't judge a writer on their first drafts. You're watching the sausage get made here, and cliches are bad. So, my writing critiques are brutal and honest, but above all, constructive. If you enjoy these videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And if you want to comment along with everyone live, check us out over on Twitch. So let's get massacring. Alrighty. So we're going to get started today with this new story called Now I'm One of Them. I'm going to keep most authors anonymous unless they actively say, I want my name there. This protects them a little bit. So let's see how this person did.
I wasn't that interested in participating in the graduate student's meditation study, but Cora was. She sat next to me in my neuropsychology class, was a junior like myself, and very attractive. I decided to sign up.
All right, opening paragraph here is pretty straightforward, but it leaves a little bit to be desired here. The goal of the first paragraph should be convincing the reader why they should bother with this story. What's the hook? Now, you can't always get a great hook with the first paragraph. Sometimes you need a few to get there. But for me, I'm not seeing anything. Where are we now? Who is this person? We have one sentence paragraph. Sorry, two sentences. Three. Because I can count. Okay. So we have these three short sentences that basically say there's a meditation study and a girl he likes is in there. So he decided to sign up. Cliche, straightforward, but all right, let's keep moving. I won't harp on it.
The initial phase consisted of an hour-and-a-half meeting to introduce the meditation technique to the 12 participants. For follow-up group meetings were scheduled at weekly intervals. All meetings would be held in one of the department's classrooms at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. Participants were to be paid.
Okay, so now you're summarizing what's happened here. These first two paragraphs are all a summation of something that's already happened. I want to be in the story. I want to feel what the character is feeling. I want to be able to experience it. It's one thing to have a moment and then explain how you got to that moment. That's okay. So if you wanted to start the story off in a better note, I would say be in that first meeting, looking around, looking for Cora, looking like, okay, I'm here, and then explain what here is, how you got here. But give us that moment in the scene rather than a summary of how we got to the scene. Okay? Let's keep going.
At the first meeting, we were asked to sit in the front of the room in the middle seats. In addition to Cora, I recognized 4 others from our class. The graduate student in charge introduced himself as Randall Singh. During a brief introduction, he said that all we would need to do for the actual exercise was to relax and focus on a glowing crystal. A discussion of the experience would follow.
Again, he's summarizing here. Why not have this meeting? Why not put us in that room? Why isn't Randall Singh introducing himself? Why isn't he saying, hi, I'm Randall Singh, welcome to the study? Right now, all you're going to do is relax and stare at a glowing crystal. And that's all you need to do. And afterwards, we'll follow up with a discussion. That's all you have to say. Dialogue. It's a scene. Write the scene.
He locked the door, closed all the blinds, and picked up what looked to be a large rectangular box, about 1.5 feet long, from behind the desk.
See, now he's in the scene. Now, who's he here? Is this Randall Singh, or is this the... Well, I guess since it's first person, it must be Randall Singh. So, okay, at least we know that.
What he uncovered appeared to be made of hardwood, had a large inlaid crystal on the front panel, and several tubes protruding from the back. An electrical cord was also attached in back, and Randall seemed to deliberately make sure that we saw all sides of the device.
Seemed to. I hate that phrase. Seemed to, appeared to. Whenever you're filtering out the deliberate word, Okay, you're taking a step back. Either he's deliberately doing it, or he's not seem to. Okay? Randall picked up the device and made sure that all of us could see all angles of the device so that nothing was hidden. He pointed the crystal at us. ...
He pointed the crystal at us, and plugged the box into an electrical outlet on the desk. He then pressed something making a large...
Then is another one that's a filter word. Search for all those thens. Then. First he did this, then he did that. Next he did this. Almost every time you could just get rid of that then. Then you won't need it. Right? You won't need it if you remove it. And then it won't matter.
But flimsy-looking antennas sprang out from the top of the handle. It unfolded into a strange tree-like structure. Randall then walked over to turn off the lights, plunging the room into darkness. Giving no specific instructions other than reminding us to relax and focus on the crystal.
Again, dialogue. Why are you summarizing my story here? Come on. I want to be a part of the story. I want to experience what this character is feeling while Randall is telling us what he's doing. Relax. Focus. Okay? Just give us a scene, not a summary.
He sat down behind the box. At that point he did something to make the crystal begin glowing and pulsating.
He did something? What did he do? Did he hit a button? Did he stare at it and then it burst into life? He did something.
I stared, fixated on the crystal, as a mesmerizing vibration coursed through my body and intensified.
Fixating and mesmerizing. Alright, I'm gonna let it go.
I found myself plunged into a pleasantly all-consuming experience and slid increasingly into the immediacy of the moment, releasing worries and cares.
Well, that's fast. Is there something happening? I get you're saying a mesmerizing vibration coursed through my body. I get that. But slow down here. This shouldn't be an instant kind of thing. We're talking about a meditation study. I mean, it's one thing if the technology is doing something. Okay. Sure. Fine. Great. But at first you're staring at a glowing rock. Slow down. Put us in the scene. Then you start to feel a vibration. Something is happening. Okay? Allow us the chance to experience the sensations as they wash over us.
After what seemed about 20 minutes, feeling in a dreamscape of sorts, it happened.
It happened. What's it? Come on. Yeah, I mean, seriously. It. Who's it? All right, you need... You said 20, after about 20 minutes. This is what I mean about slowing down. Okay. I get it. You're trying to build suspense here. It happened. Oh my God, it happened. Stephen King's clown came out and got you. Be specific. Or, if you're trying to build tension, just say, after 20 minutes... So, how does he know 20 minutes had passed? Maybe he looked at the clock? Maybe he wasn't aware and somebody did something? How does he know it's 20 minutes? Okay, just say, I don't know how much time had passed before suddenly something happened. Be specific. Before, I'm looking at the next sentence now. Suddenly I realized I'm being totally controlled. How would you know if you're being controlled? What does that mean?
I suddenly realized I was being totally controlled by a strange device. I was having an experience of moving swiftly, as if over land, when I saw it coming like a signpost.
It again. Who is it? Come on, stop this already. I mean, seriously. It. Who is it? What is it?
The point of no return. I found myself moving over a vast abyss seemingly separating me from everything I had ever cared about or worked for. Headed for the unknown, I panicked. What about family, friends, plans, my life? Was everything to be left behind?
Okay, so now all of a sudden we're in the POV's thoughts, which normally you want to put in italics as a separate, treat it like dialogue. Okay? It should be separate line. And also, the point of no, I found myself moving over a vast abyss. So, this is a very strange, disconnected sequence of thoughts. You're not really selling us the transition here. You're just saying, suddenly it happened. I lost, something is controlling me. What does that mean? Did you stand up from your chair unwillingly and your arms are moving unwillingly? What does having control over you mean? Then you're talking about this visual dreamscape, basically. Okay. Moving over this vast abyss type thing. This is a vision, basically. I want to see the vision. I want to feel the vision, experience it. Okay. Slow down. Push us into this vision.
I rose and stumbled to the door in the darkness, but couldn't open it.
Wait, when did it get dark? We were staring at a glowing rock. Okay, he turned off the light, plunging it into darkness. Okay, but you're stumbling. Okay, so you're stumbling. So if you lost control of your body, how are you rising and stumbling in the darkness? Okay.
No matter how much I fumbled with the lock, I couldn't get out. I began banging on the door and...
Isn't this a group study? Where are the other people? Nobody else is making a commotion? Nobody else is trying to say, like, hey, what's going on?
And Randall finally opened it. I ran outside, stumbling down the campus's tree-lined walkways and past the large red brick buildings, now seemingly leering at me with contempt.
Leering? How does a brick building leer at you in contempt? Okay, this is what we call purple prose, sort of. You're trying to give these vivid descriptions to make it seem like a very vibrant story, this overly decadent way of describing things. If you were staring at a building that was 100 feet tall, or several hundred feet tall, looking down, and you looked up at the top and it was staring down at you, that would be leering down at you. That makes more sense. But just running past brick buildings leering at you? With contempt, no less. Where does this come from? How does that work? And why did this professor let him just run out there without completing the study, without trying to stop him, without even bothering to follow up with the experiment and be like, hey, let's take notes now. You're okay. You're safe. Don't worry. Why did he just let him run out there to have this now LSD trip outside?
It was a 25-minute walk back to my rental house. I was woozy and nauseous, not to mention concerned about any repercussions from wimping out on the study. As soon as I got back, I went straight to bed.
So he ran out. He was racing past these buildings, staring down at him, freaking out from this vision. And then he leisurely walked 25 minutes back to his rental house. You're in fight or flight mode. So why are you... Oh, you get volatile. Take a moment, breathe, get your heart rate under control, have some thoughts, what just happened. Maybe your vision's starting to come back to normal. Maybe you're coming down. And then once you're ready and you've breathed and gotten some water, maybe, okay, it's time to go home. I don't feel good. I'm woozy. I'm nauseous. Okay. And I wimped out on the study, so I'm not even going to get any, I don't even know what's going to happen for that. I'm just going to go home, get some sleep.
Waking up several hours later after some weird scrambled dreams, and feeling like hell, as if I was recovering from the flu, I made my way to the kitchen.
So, once again, we're summarizing. What kind of dreams? Why don't we have... This should be a scene break here anyway. He went to bed. Several hours later. That's a new scene. Okay, we've transitioned. Okay, put a scene break in there. Some scrambled dream. What is a scrambled dream? Okay, be specific. Is it about the crystal? Is it about thoughts from his life? Is it about people? Is it about Cora? What happened to Cora in all of this? Was she in the room with him? She just, it's like, oh, I signed up for this because of, hot girl. And then she was never heard from again. Come on. Right? We need characters. We need dialogue. We need a story. I mean, sheesh.
When I said hi to my two male housemates, they looked like they'd just seen a ghost, so I went back to my bedroom. When I woke up Thursday morning, despite having any number of nightmares, I tried to tell myself that my mind was clearer, but when I moved the rooms began swirling around me. I got myself together as best I could and made a simple breakfast.
Despite having any number of I'm struggling here on these words now. This is just painful. Okay, this is. Oof. You just told us about the dreams in the previous paragraph. You don't need to repeat, or maybe you want to review what you said. And why are you telling us that you said hi to your two male housemates? Again, stop summarizing the story. Don't tell us the story. Show us. If you're not familiar with show versus tell, Google it. Show me the story. Don't tell me the story. Okay? And now you were already in the kitchen. Okay, you're making breakfast. Let's keep going.
Walking through the campus to my classes, I felt like I was wading through centuries of scholarly pain from countless students come and gone. In the classroom I was incapable of concentrating, and mindlessly took notes. It was the same for the next class. I was having as much trouble conversing with other students as I had with my housemates, who must have thought I was recovering from a bad hangover. The next day my mental state was no better.
Eesh. Summarizing. Short stories are notorious for this. Short stories, people want to tell a story. They don't want to actually take the time necessary to write out the scenes. Think of it like a TV show. Every TV show is a short story. It's a full episode. But what is that episode? It's a series of scenes and dialogue with stuff happening in between. Since we can't see those TV shows we're reading, you need to describe what's in the background. You need to describe how we got here. So that's where that summation comes in. But I want to see those scenes. I want to see him experience getting stuck in class and having a bad hangover. I want to actually have those moments. You can summarize a little bit saying, the next class was no better and the one after that was worse. But give us a little something to show us what he's feeling.
My neuropsychology class met at 9, and I was curious what Cora and the other participants thought about the meditation.
So this leads me to believe he was alone in the room. This is, again, important why we need to be in the scene. He never said he was alone. He just said he was participating in a study because of girl. So he was in the room, and a crystal came out. I assumed this was a group meditation study. That's how you sold it. That's what I understood. Now, maybe some people won't have this problem, but if you're not specific, you're going to lose half your readers.
but worried about how they were going to react to me given my freak out. When
How would they know about his freak out if he was alone in the room?
I got there, I met a deep freeze. They wouldn't even look at me, much less talk to me. When I spoke to Cora, she'd nod and quickly look away. My later classes went no better.
So, did the TA, have a great laugh and was like, ha ha ha, hey, everybody, get a load of this. The wimp ran out of the room.
That morning, Randall Singh, the graduate student, texted me requesting a meeting.
Dun dun dun.
I agreed to meet him at 3 p.m. in his office. At our meeting, he was understandably concerned and asked me how I was doing.
But he could care less when he ran out of the room completely, in shock. And, it's like, oh, have a nice day. We'll talk to you later. So long.
I didn't hold back.
Again, give us the dialogue. I'm glad you came. How are you doing? Plus, this is a transition scene. Okay? You had the one scene is describing the days that happened since the study. New scene is the meeting.
Since the meditation, I can't concentrate, I can't study, I can't even communicate normally.
That's for sure.
I said. How have the others reacted? All the others completed the meditation, he said, which lasted about 50 minutes. All had very positive results. Why did you leave?
How dare you run out on my experiment? When 9 out of 10 participants are good and the 10th participant dies, I think you're wrong. You shouldn't be dead. How dare you?
I was enjoying it at first, but felt at a certain point I was being snatched away from the life I've always known. It was like I suddenly didn't care about almost everything I used to care about, and wouldn't be able to get back even if I wanted to. I panicked. It seemed like I was crossing a point of no return.
It's all right.
The preliminary feedback I've gotten is that everyone else is already functioning at a higher level than ever, he said. I wish you'd completed the full 50 minutes. I'd like to offer you the opportunity to do that.
No, that's not how studies work. Okay? If you're going to write a story on a subject, you need to follow the rules of the subject you pick. This is why research is critical. Okay? I'm not going to pretend to know I know everything about studies, but I do know that consistency and fixed rules need to apply. He ran out on the study. That is a legit response and has to be noted. Okay? That's a negative effect. If somebody had severe palpitations after taking one drug, and they said, well, everybody else was fine, you should come back and take more. No, you're going to kill that bastard. You can't do that.
I don't think I'm going to take that risk, I replied.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
I haven't begun to recover from the first 20 minutes. I seem to be weirding people out everywhere I go.
Okay, either everybody knows or something's weird with him and you're not telling us. You're not showing us why people are looking at him weird. Okay, he's had no dialogue to suggest that things are weird. He didn't describe people looking at his face like something's wrong with his face. And if there was, you'd think the TA might point that out, saying, hey, wait a minute here. You look gray. What happened?
You're the only one who's had that reaction, he said.
How dare you? It's like that study, there was a mouse where they were conducting this research and everything was going well, but one mouse in particular figured out what they were doing and was deliberately lying whenever he was being observed. He would just lay on his back and do nothing and whatnot. And then when the cameras were away, all of a sudden he would just come to life and do all the things and ha 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 ha. And it's like, the bastard ruined my PhD thesis. But it's still part of the results. You still have to write it down.
I don't think that would have happened if you'd stayed the full 50 minutes. I strongly recommend that you complete this process. It sounds to me like you simply had a panic response to something strikingly unfamiliar.
Again, you can't do that. That's coercion. You're corrupting the results of the experiment.
We continued discussing my retaking the process, and I told him I'd consider it.
Really? Why?
My immediate plan was to straighten out my head over the weekend and simply withdraw from the study. Saturday morning I drove out of town to the mountains to a hiking trail I was familiar with, hoping to clear my head. After that I treated myself to lunch in a restaurant in a nearby town. Driving back to my house I told myself I was better, important since one of my housemates and his girlfriend were supposed to introduce me to a friend of hers that evening.
Could use a scene break here.
A little later my housemate texted me saying they were sorry but they had to cancel. I was disappointed, but could hardly blame them. I had kicked things off that morning by asking, "Is it Saturday yet?" I couldn't seem to stop blurting nonsense. The evening before I kept addressing his
Nonsense. Is it Saturday? Dude. Oh. What's wrong with you? It's Friday. Go to your room. Just go see a doctor.
His girlfriend by his previous girlfriend's name. I wound up staying home alone Saturday night, watching TV.
Oh my God, an introvert who didn't want to go out. Shocked. Color me shocked.
On Sunday, trying to make sense of the notes I'd been taking in class, it was obvious my brain simply wasn't up to it. Meanwhile, my housemates were clearly avoiding me. I decided come Monday to file a complaint with the psych department.
You signed up for a study. Now you're going to... Well, I would complain about the coercion, so yeah, definitely. It's like, hey, this doc ain't up to scruff.
My Monday 9 a.m. neuropsychology class went just like on Friday, except not only did Cora refuse to look at or speak to me, she wouldn't even sit by me. She took another seat in the back. The other study participants also continued to cold shoulder me.
Oh my God, how dare you take an experiment and have a negative reaction? What is wrong with you?
When I asked to file a complaint about the effects of the study, I was directed to Dr. Rothstein, Randall's advisor. He said he had already been alerted to my dropping out and the problems I was having. He seemed to take me seriously and promised to look into it further and get back to me. At one point he made a curious statement.
Again, stop summarizing the story. Give us dialogue here. You are killing me. Just... come on.
Asking me just how much impact could a small box with a little light on the end of it have on somebody. The box I'd been subjected to seemed much more and I wondered if he'd seen the real thing, but I didn't argue. The next morning nothing had changed. I was doing no better, with 2 worrisome tests coming up and people avoiding me. The first of Randall's 4 follow-up sessions was scheduled for the next day at 4 p.m., and needless to say I wouldn't be there. I went back to my house extremely conflicted and depressed.
So you're having medical issues and you're not going to see a legit doctor? Someone who's not a quack? As part of a study? Yeah, that's smart.
My mood hadn't improved that evening, but then I got a text from the last person I expected to Cora. My mood hadn't improved that evening, but then I got a text from the last person I expected to Cora. She asked me to call her, claiming she was concerned about me.
Yeah, sure. So she was avoiding you this entire time, and now she's showing concern after a few weeks, or a week or two? Why?
Given the way she'd been acting, that was a surprise.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
I was angry, but I wasn't about to not call her back. "Hi," she said. "I've been concerned about how you've been doing."
Wait a minute. So they're texting. Why didn't he just text her back? Or say, I'd love to chat first. This could be an age gap thing here, but, these are college kids, and phones are like, why would you use them for voice when you have perfectly good texts? So this scene should be texting back and forth, and then at some point maybe it's like, no, I need words, I need to hear from you, and then you can request to call, and it's like, okay, sure, then you can have the dialogue. But different age groups, you got to pay attention to how things are today, not how things are when you were a kid. It's always going to change, and it's hard to keep up. But if you're going to write about it, you got to do your homework.
Not very good, I replied. I was told to let you be, so you'd fully realize what it would be like if you didn't complete the process. Did Randall Singh say that? I asked. Can we get together sometime to discuss this? She asked, ducking my question. Okay, I replied.
Go back. So now she's trying to coerce him too. So no. Unless the conversion process, one of us, maybe, this is supposed to be a horror story, so maybe that's what it is. It's, one of us, gooba gaba gooba.
How about tomorrow before the follow-up meeting, she said. We agreed to meet outside the student union at noon.
We stop agreeing and stop telling us you agreed and agree.
Next morning, Cora's empty desk next to me made the point that all was not well. That afternoon, as I was approaching the union building early to meet her, I spotted her talking to several of the other participants in the study. They walked away before seeing me. When Cora saw me, she greeted me warmly and asked how I was doing.
Again, she totally avoids him for a week or two. Like, oh God, what is wrong with this person? And now she's like, hey, best friend, how you doing?
Still pretty messed up, I admitted. Well, there's a lot that can be done about that. We began walking around the campus. So far everyone else is pleased with the meditation's effects, she said. I wish it had the same effect on me, I said, but I had the distinct experience I was losing my perspective on life and being torn away from family, friends, basically everything my life is built on. I felt like I was being thrown into an unknown.
So, I know you're redescribing what you said before, but you're essentially using the exact same words as well, and you're just summarizing what the reader already knows. We don't need this. Here, it actually makes sense to summarize and to say, I replayed the experience for Cora, describing in detail the sensations that drove me into my panic attack. And then move on. You don't need to rewrite it over and over. So this is the one time you actually should have summarized, and you did dialogue instead. Give up. Yeah, I'm going to try not to overuse that phrase, but it's hard. Now I lost track where we are. Oh, here we go.
Actually, it had a similar initial effect on all of us, she said, but part of the meditation's effectiveness is that first it rids you of the attachment to people and things that bog you down. It's liberating, but you have to complete the process to experience the full effect. You left during the separation phase.
Wait, how does she know this about the project? How involved is she? I thought she was a participant, not one of the actual researchers. She could say what her experience was like, and she goes, I felt that at first too, and it scared me a little bit, but if I kept going, and then things got better, and then it got great. She could say that, because that's her own personal experience. She can't describe the actual stages of the process.
But I don't want to give up the life I have. I just wanted to build on it. What kind of a meditation is this that it has that kind of effect on people? This process is actually far superior to a typical meditation, she said. It activates a higher frequency of thought.
Again, she's not a researcher. How does she know this?
And does so very quickly, but that requires a degree of separation from people and activities that keep you tethered to a lower vibration. The initial part of the process provides that separation,
This should be Singh telling him this, not Cora.
and you freaked out. Nothing requires you to completely detach from everything in your past. It's about a healthy detachment, not really that much different from what standard meditations could potentially achieve. This simply does it at a greatly accelerated pace. We continued discussing it until I finally said, Cora, all I can say is that there are plenty of things that seem great when you first experience them, but don't hold up in the long run. I'm really impressed that everyone else in the group has experienced so much improvement, but all I want is to get back to my previous level of functioning first, and build on that. Okay, let's head back, she said abruptly.
Abruptly? Why is that abruptly? He ended the conversation and she goes, okay, let's go back. So, first of all, let's backtrack a little bit. They met at the student union and decided to go and just started walking. Did they intend to go to a walk? Or did they want to get lunch? Maybe tell us, hey, would you like to meet at the student union and we'll take a walk and talk? That's all you need. But in addition to that, okay, this scene should have been Singh or the actual professor who was conducting the research, not just the TA. Okay, explaining the process and breaking it down, what it's doing. If you change that, then this scene makes more sense. If you want to have the scene with Cora, then it's just about her personal experience. And you have to remember that it's not about, how do I word this? I don't know. Either way, this is just doesn't make sense for this kind of study to pressure somebody into this unless it's drinking the Kool-Aid. If that's the goal here, and I'll keep reading, maybe we'll find out that actually was the goal, then we'll figure that out. But for now, this is just completely absurd. And if it is the case that this is drinking the Kool-Aid and she's just programmed now and brainwashed, sell that. Sell that something's wrong with her. Not something's wrong with him, something's wrong with her. She sounds off. She sounds weird. Okay. Why are you so happy? Why are you so into this experiment? Why do you know these things about this experiment? Weren't you just a participant? Okay.
We continued walking back in an awkward silence, past the towering trees and looming buildings. Finally I said, all I want is to be me again. Cora nodded wearily and we continued walking back to the union, where we said our goodbyes and parted. Of course I didn't attend the 4 p.m. follow-up meeting that afternoon. I had 2 tests the next day and did miserably on both. I crept back to my house in a serious depression.
A serious depression. Did so miserably. You're telling us emotions. This goes back to Chauvitel again. Emotions, you don't want to tell us. When you tell me your emotions, that makes me feel angry. Grr. I am angry now. Now, what does an angry face look like? Here's an angry face. Okay, my brows are furrowed. My teeth are grinding. Okay, I'm staring you down. That's angry. What's sad, I'm like, oh, boo-hoo, I'm dying, What does that face look like? My eyes are closed, they're watering, my frown is turned down, that's how we explain emotions. You don't just say the emotion. In a serious depression. No, what does a depression look like? Okay, look up symptoms of depression. Being tired all the time, unable to focus, okay, not wanting to do things, not wanting to go out. You had that before. You were talking about that. But that's how you say, the symptoms of my depression worsened. These are the symptoms, Walk us through it.
On Friday at my 9 a.m. neuropsychology class, it was clear I did not exist as far as Cora and the 4 other members of the meditation group were concerned, or anyone else for that matter. I managed to drag myself to my next 2 classes. Saturday morning, in a state of desperation, I called my father, although I'd long been trying to flaunt my independence. He listened to my watered-down but truthful as I could make it version of what was going on, and gave me some rational but predictable fatherly advice.
Listen to my watered-down but truthfully as I could make it version of... Really? Do we need all that? Oh. Just excess words that mean nothing. Just no.
I felt like I was talking to something from another planet. I thanked him and told him I'd seriously consider what he said, whatever that...
Wait, so you gave advice and you didn't even tell us what it was? What was the advice? This is dialogue. This is a new scene, by the way, Saturday morning. We haven't had one scene break yet, and we've had like 6 scenes.
That was. From my bedroom I could hear one of my housemates and his girlfriend talking in the living room. In a state of desperation, I walked out to join them.
So... after he hung up with the father? Or is this later on? You have so many transitions I don't even know anymore.
They reacted like a skunk had sneaked into their midst. That was the final straw.
How dare you look at me like a skunk? I shall spray you.
I slunk back into my bedroom and called Cora. My call went straight to voicemail. I left a message saying I wanted to hear all she had to say, and to please call me back ASAP.
You just time jumped. Okay? So writers sometimes do this, where you tell us that something happened, and then you go back and do the thing that you just said happened. Okay, my call went straight to voicemail, and I left a message saying I wanted to hear. Okay? If the message went to voicemail, you know what? My mistake here, I get it. The call went to voicemail, and then you left the message. My bad. You're okay. Ignore me. I'm just the editor here. I'm not supposed to know what I'm talking about.
I waited all day, no call. Sunday morning as I was laying flat on my bed staring at the ceiling wondering what to do next, the phone rang. It was Cora. As we talked she sounded like an irate teacher setting up strict parameters for meeting with an errant student, one badly in need of some discipline.
The hell kind of girl is this? What does that even mean? I don't understand. Discipline. You need to be disciplined. Man, is this like one of those like hot for teacher moments? Is she like, I like dating teachers. You do something wrong, that they make you do it over again. To quote Rodney Dangerfield.
So, you'll definitely be available at 2 p.m. today?
Who said that? Her or him? I have no idea.
Yes, definitely, I replied.
Okay, so that's it.
I want us to get away from this college energy. I know a wood...
College energy. Okay. You are totally dating. Look at those youngsters and their college energy. Back in my day. Yeah, it's been some time since you were in college, wasn't it? Okay. Don't expose yourself like that. Okay. When you're writing and your protagonist is a college student, your brain should be that of a college student. Period. Okay? And I'm going to fix my blinking eyes eventually. I just don't know how to do that. It likes to blink a lot.
Trail outside of town. I'll drive and pick you up at 2. Okay, thanks, I said. Especially given the way things were going, I was surprised she was willing to go on a forest walk alone with me.
Yeah, this creepy dude is freaking out and is depressed all the time and is making me worried. How about we go alone on the walk in the woods and we'll tell each other stories and deep, dark secrets. Arr.
But at this point I was leery about going with her. I couldn't get by the feeling I was walking into a trap.
Okay. You don't tell us that the trap is coming. Okay. Jeez. If you want to let us know that something's not right, okay, you don't say, "Oh, I'm leery. It could be a trap." Okay, you say, "Well, that seems nice, but I don't know why you're still talking to me. Everybody else is avoiding me like crazy." Sell it as something that he'd want to do, but that the reader suspects something's not right.
Cora arrived promptly at 2. We drove out of town in the direction of the mountains. She was still doing her irate teacher thing, acting huffy, and we hardly spoke.
Irate teacher thing, acting huffy. How dare you not complete your study? I don't understand. I don't understand.
About 40 minutes later we arrived in a remote mountain area at a small parking lot with a trail leading off it.
How long were they walking? As we end up in an XKCD comic where it was like, these women always talk about how they want to go for long walks on a beach, but none of them ever really meant to commit to it. Bring a tent.
There's only one other car there, but the car that had been behind us on the road pulled in after us and parked near us. As we started off, I sneaked some peeks at the car that came in behind us.
Wait a minute. Oh, they drove. Okay. That's where I'm confused. Sometimes I don't hear it, I miss it, and then it's gone. We drove out of town in the direction of the mountain, so they haven't even started the walk yet.
There were 2 males in front wearing baseball caps who I thought were pretending not to be watching us, and I noticed
who I thought were pretending not to. Again, don't tell us. Just show us. Stop summarizing.
A university parking permit inside the front window. They stayed in their car acting like they didn't notice us. I looked ahead at the dirt trail winding through the woods, lined with trees nonchalantly swaying in the breeze.
Nonchalantly. Yeah, reminds me of Futurama Zoidberg. It's like, all right, so you're being nonchalant over here.
It struck me how much easier life would be if for once I just relax and go with the flow instead of insisting on always being in control.
Has he insisted yet?
Is Randall telling you what to say? I asked Cora. No.
We haven't even heard from Randall anymore. He was just at the experiment, said, "Hey, how you doing? You should complete the experiment." Okay, bye. I'm going to stick his girlfriend after him.
Have you been talking to Dr. Rothstein? No, she snapped.
Now who's Dr. Rothstein? Was that the researcher that was mentioned 40 pages ago? Because you separated this using the TA, it's more accurate for research purposes that the TA would be handling the low-level stuff. But you're just confusing people by having both the TA and the researcher. Okay, pick one, have them do the study. It reduces the number of characters that you need to worry about and prevents this thing where you mention the name once way back and then you forget by the time you get there.
I decided to plunge in. Look, Cora, I'm obviously the beggar in this situation, and I'm grateful to be talking to someone who knows what's going on to whatever degree. I'm sorry if I've in some way messed up the study, though I hardly see why one person dropping out should be such a big deal, and I certainly don't know why I should be suffering such extreme adverse reactions after 20 minutes of a meditation experience.
Again, he should be complaining that this violates the rules of an experiment. in every way, shape, or form, and it's unethical that they're chasing him down.
As a matter of fact, she said, one person dropping out is important to the whole in this particular instance, and furthermore you can't interrupt this particular meditation process after 20 minutes without serious consequences.
Yeah, if there's supposed to be serious consequences that you need to complete the whole thing for it to be valid, that should have been up front before they started the experiment, that once you're in, you're in. And if that's the case, Singh should have never let him out of the room. He should have been either in the room with him saying, stay calm, sit down, you'll be all right, or, saying, hey, you signed up for this, you have to commit, unless there's a medical emergency. And if there was, he should have called an ambulance.
I felt like I was passing a point of no return. You already have, she said. I'm way messed up the study, though I hardly see why one person dropping out should have what?
Every now and then, Word likes to get a little, read aloud, what, who, where? Sorry about that. So, let's go back a bit, because...
I felt like I was passing a point of no return. You already have, she said. I'm way messed up the study, though I hardly see why one person dropping out should have what?
Oh, okay.
You've already passed the point of no return. The only way out of your predicament is to move forward to become the person you were always meant to be.
So I'm using Word for now with the read, the text-to-speech. If anybody has any suggestions, good software that doesn't cost too much for read aloud, let me know. But for now, I'll be sticking with this, and we can laugh at the absurdity.
As we walked, I finally said what I was thinking. Who says? Mr. Ricks says.
Who's me?
Who's that?
Okay.
Every day he's telepathically communicating more information to those of us who completed the induction. The grip is loosened on our pasts, our egos, our fears, our supposed ambitions. It's such a relief. Telepathically communicating. Have you...
Well, that's not a question. That's an exclamation. Yeah, telepathic communication. This is great. What? Yeah. You all know exactly where I'm going. I'm not gonna harp on this. Let's just keep going.
You ever met this Mr. Ricks? We all did, she said. When? I asked. At the meditation. Randall was the only other person there, I protested. Where was this Mr. Ricks? In the box. In the box. What are
Again, that's a question, not an exclamation.
you talking about? At that very moment I heard what was almost certainly the two males from the parking lot make some rustling noises behind us, trailing us like I figured they would.
Like if... What? I can't. Yeah. This is getting not only cliche about the mysterious men in the back of the car watching them, but this Mr. Ricks character. I get it. I get what you're trying to say, that by going through the meditation process, it opens up your brain to telepathic communication, but you're trying to tell us that, not show us. And Mr. Ricks. Why is it Mr. Ricks? Is there a meaning behind the name? Are we trying to do something here? I can't wait to find out who or what Mr. Ricks actually is.
I turned around and in spite of their caps I recognized them as being from the meditation. I turned back to Cora, acting like I wasn't onto them, and resumed
Again, we talked about this before. Was he alone in the room, or was it a group thing? Because if it was a group thing, more should have been happening in that room. And then you made it seem like he was alone in the room later, and now you're talking about other people in the study again. Which was it? I don't understand. Answer me!
asking her about Mr. Ricks. What do you mean by in the box?
What do you mean by in the box? What's in the box? Anybody ever see Seven? What's in the box? It's definitely not, the head of somebody.
Are you saying you're receiving
Spoiler alert.
messages from a box? That thing is just some sort of hypnosis/meditation contraption. Adding more information to those of us who completed the...
Why does it keep...
Mr. Ricks is actually a bioengineered device insulated in a wooden carrying case, she said. The material inside is both biological and electronic. Randall has to provide nutrients and remove waste materials through tubes inserted in openings in the back of the box. You're claiming that box is alive and capable of thought and telepathy. No one on Earth is capable of constructing such a device.
Mr. Ricks, the box creature. So wait, is it the box or the crystal that's alive? Why are you describing it like the box is alive?
Well, it's certainly done all right by me, she said, whoever made it. There's so much more going on than we realized. I gained so much from this, and now I'm hosting someone who wants to study us. I think it's a fair trade.
You're hosting someone who wants to study you. What does that even mean? I don't know what that sentence means. Fix it. A fair trade? What's a fair trade? I'm going to trade... What was the trade? The trade is getting telepathy powers in exchange going through the meditation in exchange for getting a host to study you?
Hosting someone? What do you mean?
Thank you. I'm just
I
confused.
asked. It's a type of body sharing. Body sharing. You're making it sound like you've been invaded by some kind of parasite from outer space.
Dun dun dun! The old Twilight Zone style.
Feeling like I just made a particularly trenchant point,
Trenchant. There's a vocab word. Every now and then a good vocab word, nice little, it's kind of get your readers thinking is good. Just careful not to overuse those so much because you will sound pretentious and it'll be repugnant to those of us who prefer not to have such a vociferous vocabulary.
I promptly tripped over a root and nearly fell.
Dun.
It's not on a biological level, she said, ignoring my stumble, but energetic and observer on another frequency level, in a sense from outer space.
In a sense from outer space. So aliens, but not aliens.
Do you have any
But aliens.
idea what the implications are of what you're saying, if it's true? How can you possibly know that such a thing, if it's really inside you, would be up to any good? Mr. Ricks says that their only purpose is to study us in this place, and that requires the host to have a clear mind and clear perceptions.
When you're having a good horror story, you're not supposed to give all the answers and all the explanations. Okay, you're not supposed to sit there like, hey, let's have a breakdown summary of everything that actually happened. You get piecemeal parts of information, things you put together based on other pieces, and you come up with this overall image. I should have gotten to the aliens thing on my own, not by you having someone break it down for me. Okay, not by saying Mr. Ricks, Mr. Don Ricks over here is a alien telepathic parasite from another dimension.
Mr. Ricks has given me that. It's in effect a symbiotic arrangement. I've only benefited from this, and the inhabitant benefits from the clarity I now have in my bodily apparatus.
He benefits from the clarity in your bodily... What is the difference between a bodily apparatus and a body? What?
You're having trouble comprehending all this because you haven't completed the induction. You're still operating from the standpoint of a lower-level Earth frequency, which at present is functioning at an even lower level than normal.
My intelligence is starting to function at a lower level than normal.
And what would be the purpose of their supposed study? To promote more direct contact between species. Humans with aliens? Yes. And you believe it? I have to. The purpose is to study you personally or life on Earth in general.
You have a lot of dialogue here without any dialogue tags. Who is speaking where?
Both. Or life on Earth in general. Do you communicate with this inhabitant? No, but I can feel its presence. Can you understand?
So if you could feel its presence, how did you learn that his name was Mr. Ricks? Sounds like a old school janitor.
And why I would hesitate to up and share my body with an alien from outer space? You're already doing it. What? That's why you can't function. Neither you nor your inhabitant will be able to function properly, having begun the process, but not completing it. I was doing just fine until I met Mr. Ricks.
But you never met Mr. Ricks.
You can no longer do just fine if the induction is begun but left unfinished. So you think it's okay for some alien from outer space to march into me without my permission and set up shop? You'd already given it permission. By signing up for a meditation study. By agreeing to it.
Yes, because in legalese, meditation study means I have the right to inject you with something without your knowledge. That's what a meditation study is. Yeah, I'm sure the legalese there is just fine.
Before you were born into this particular life.
Wait, what? Oh, they're reborn together, I guess. You get phone. See, sometimes when I'm critiquing work, this is why I started the channel. Sometimes it's so viscerally painful for me to read these words like this that I feel the need to share my pain with you all. You need to experience this. It's like the guy's thing, like, oh man, I just stepped in something horrible that smells. You got to come over here and smell this thing. That's what this show is. That's what I'm doing here. This is my pain, and I'm sharing the pain with all of you.
It's clear to me now, she said. All of the participants agreed to this before we were born here, and we were all manipulated into undergoing the induction process in the guise of a meditation technique.
Guys, I'm gonna yawn now. Guys, that is exactly what it is. It's deception. He can sue.
Do you realize that if what you're saying is true, the whole world could be invaded by these beings? It already has been.
Dun dun dun. I keep using that, but you gotta love these twists that they add, that it's supposed to be like, mic drop, can you believe it? But it hits so flat that there is no conflict, there is no tension. Let me just say this now. Horror as a genre is difficult. It is so hard to pull it off well. I don't write horror for that reason. Okay? You have to build conflict and tension in a way that makes you feel so behind the main character's eyes that if something happens to them, the reader feels it. If they get stabbed, the reader feels stabbed. Okay? If they get, attacked by an alien, they feel attacked by an alien. There are no jump scares in written word. It's easy to scare somebody on a TV or a movie where you just, and boom, done. Okay? But you can't do that in writing. So instead, it's that slow burn, that creep up on you, the tension building, what's going to happen. The fear is what you don't know, what you are waiting for. You expect something to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. That is the key ingredient to a good horror story. So far, all I have is a weird sci-fi story with no conflict or tension other than he's not feeling great and failing at life. And so she's going to convince him to be overwritten by alien DNA or whatever. It's a problem, but I'm not feeling all that tense or conflicted about it. Honestly, at this point, I'd rather him just shut up and take it.
They've already taken over. They've already been studying us, and
Wait, we have 2 lines of dialogue. So do you realize that if you were saying is true, the whole world could be invaded by these beings? It already has been. They've already taken over. That's the protagonist speaking. How does he know that? What does that mean? Wouldn't that be a question mark? I think this person likes to use exclamation points instead of question marks just because Grammarly said that's not a question. Grammarly is a good tool. Pro Writing Aid is a great tool. AutoCrit's a great tool. But make sure that the suggestions they give make sense in the context of that particular sentence. Sometimes they are great for a lot of things, but don't just assume they're always right.
a certain group of people are sharing their bodies so that can happen. Okay, this Mr. Ricks, what exactly is it? Mr.
So you already said it was an alien. Why is it an it now? You identified it as a Mr., so I'm assuming it's male.
Ricks is not representative of those who created him, but serves a specific purpose for his creators, namely preparing Earth humanity for off-planet contact. He is able to receive, process, and transmit specific
So now you switch it to he.
types of information with those he works with, and is capable of telepathic communication with humans as well as his creators. He would not be able to conduct a meeting by himself or continue functioning with just the assistant. He requires innervations from space for that.
Innervations? I have to Google this word. Innervation. A moment. What is an innervation? The process of supplying a body part or organ with nerves. What? He requires innervations from space. So you need nerves in your body from space.
You mean spaceships?
How are spaceships nerves? You use that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I asked. Yes. So this Mr. Ricks. How many of these boxes are presently operating on this planet? I don't know. You don't know, or you're not allowed to say? I don't know. I looked ahead of us on the trail and saw 2 males, who must have been in the car that arrived before us.
We already talked about the 2 males. What happened? Are these 2 different males? What do they look like? What? Give us some details too. You've been pretty white room. We're in the middle of a forest. You haven't even described so much as a tree. Or the sound ahead, the weather outside. Is it nice? Is it hot? Is it muggy? Don't forget this white room syndrome where you're just talking, you're focused on this particular scene, but you're not paying attention to the surrounding details. And it's not just about sight. It's smells, sounds, tastes, touch. Okay, the feel of the leaves crunching beneath your feet. Okay, that's touch. Okay. I want to know, and with White Room, when you're filling in the details of these settings, you want to set the mood. What is the atmosphere of this scene? Is it a tense scene? Is it a scary scene? Is it a depressing scene? Okay. How the weather is, how the protagonist perceives the world is based on his current mindset. So if he's panicked and the world is out to get him and there's men following him and things like that, as he describes the forest, that should also be described that way. That the forest is intimidating, that, it's looking like it's closing in around them the further they get in. Use the setting to set the mood, which helps rise that tension another level.
Sitting on a log and watching us approaching. I looked behind us and saw the two that followed us into the parking lot. I looked at Cora. Okay. I've decided to complete the meditation.
All right, I'm in. After all that, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in, sure. And now we finally get a scene break. Jeez. I don't even... We had like no scene breaks the entire time, and now finally we get a scene break. Alrighty then.
So that's basically where it stands.
You started a new scene with it. Again, we don't know what it is. So that's basically where it stands. What is it? Who stands where?
Cora made it clear that Randall will rerun the meditation with Mr. Ricks, more correctly the induction, with me.
More correctly, the induction. Okay, maybe this wasn't ran through Grammarly at all. More correctly, the induction. Just so you know, for future submissions, people, if you're going to submit something to me, make sure you give it a little Grammarly check first. Clean it up a little bit.
If I don't do it before the next meeting, I will not have another chance, and will have to deal with my neurological issues on my own. Mr. Ricks has now informed Cora, telepathically of course, that she is not to have further contact with me until I complete the induction process.
Because, sure, she specifically said that Mr. Ricks doesn't talk to her before, that it's a sensation. And now it's the sensation of have no further contact? That's, what does that sensation feel like exactly? Be consistent.
Yes. As far as I can tell, at this pre-induction point my functioning has improved not one iota. My housemates are ready to kick me out, and continuing in school at the level I'm at is out of the question. If I look to Earth authorities or a psychiatrist, I'd be considered certifiably insane.
Quite possibly. But not for the reason you think.
And clearly those involved with Mr. Ricks are not about to reveal what's going on. Cora made it clear that Mr. Ricks is fully aware of my thoughts, and if I try to make any trouble with the authorities the consequences for me would be unfortunate.
It'd be a real shame if you didn't comply with what we want. You know, I'd hate to, leave a horse head in your bed or something like that, you know. That's all I'm saying. We've got the alien mafia going on here.
The magnitude of what could be going on here is beyond my comprehension, and frankly I don't feel capable of making a rational decision.
But you made the decision anyway.
I've made no progress returning to a normal state since not completing the induction, so I'll have to proceed with it. Based on
We already know he decided on it from the last scene. He said, okay, I'll do it. So why are we...
very limited experience, Cora is assuming that there is an alien presence demonstrating a superior consciousness, and willing to share it with humanity. On the other hand, I'm well aware that alien invaders could be just as capable of subjugating Earth through stealth as by force. Cora and the other participants clearly have no intention of signaling to the world what they're hosting, and if I go through with this induction, presumably I won't either. That's the reason I have to tell you this now, because by the time you read this, I'll be one of them, a secret army of otherworldly zealots walking amongst you.
Why are they zealots? How do you know they're zealots? I mean, they're definitely cult-like at this point. If it's just like, as you made the title, one of us. But all right, final thoughts. Wow. It's an interesting story. All right, so let's talk about some of the positives here. Okay, the author was trying to write a horror story, and it checks some of the Twilight Zone boxes in that you have this meditation study that's more than it appears, and you have these hidden communications through telepathy, and, he's experiencing the negative effects of leaving it early. There's great potential here for a truly unique horror story that would lend itself well to any Twilight Zone or Outer Limits or Love, Death, and Robots style story. But Get away from these summaries and these explanations and walking us through the aliens doing this and that. I don't need to hear it. It's got nothing to do with showing a good story, showing us a good story. Okay. If you want to tell a horror story, focus on the conflict, the tension, the building. Something is wrong. And the more you learn, the scarier it looks. And when you decide at the end that I'd rather finish the process than continue my suffering, regardless of what that means, regardless if I become someone as blind and cult-like as Cora. Okay. Besides, he talked about her being attractive in the beginning, and that's why you joined the study. Shouldn't you have more emotions about her in particular? The closeness to want to be with her? If this is what she likes, I'm suffering, I could be with her if I do this thing. That's the hard decision. That's what drives this person who you never actually identify by name. Secret trick, when you're using first person, just have the other character say the name. We never actually got the name, did we? I have no idea who the protagonist is. It's just some guy. Use another character in dialogue. Say, hey, Nick. That's all you need. Okay. But whoever this is needs to arrive at that decision on a scary note. They don't know what it means. They don't know, what this sensation is that's driving people and telling us, that good things are coming from far away or whatever. Don't tell us it's aliens. Just lead us to believe that it's probably something like aliens or paranormal or something beyond our understanding. Or it could be just cult drinking the Kool-Aid and being brainwashed. If we don't know the answer to that, that makes it scarier. So those are my thoughts. And this is actually the very first episode of Manuscript Massacre. Hope you enjoyed it. I am definitely, starting out here, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, try to get my little character there in order. If you have any suggestions how to improve, please leave a comment. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm going to start filming these over on Twitch Live and then posting them on YouTube within a day or two afterwards, after editing it up a bit. And eventually when Twitch becomes bigger and we get an audience, I'll start pulling people in. If you check out the website, www.manuscriptmassacre.com, you can sign up for the newsletter and I will give you a free invite to our Discord server. Where you can chat with other writers, critique each other's works, and get a chance to submit your own scribbles to be sacrificed in the massacre. Until then, cheers all.